we won't be blowing things up. Engaging in fire, crash landing expectedly, unexpectedly.
Those were the days.
Hey everybody, I am Brian, and I am bringing in my buddy, Mr. Reagan. Just a second. Here we go. You are watching the Popcast Unleashed on Thursday. And yes, we have a special guest today, Mr. Reagan. Give him a second for his video to clear up here, and he will be looking as his normal fine self is. How you doing today, Reagan? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I don't know why I'm so fuzzy.
I'm fixing it right now.
I have high quality internet.
Yes.
I just want everybody to know.
Yes, you do, but Shane does not. So I
always.
always.
Is that right?
Yeah, you're coming into Shane's frame where he's asking. We have to add a bunch of filters and all that to make it look, normal.
Right.
Anyways, man, hey, how are you doing? I think you just came from on the show, right?
Yeah, I do a show every week. It airs on Rumble and it's on the radio called America First Radio with Sebastian Gorka. America First, yeah, it's the Salem Radio Network. America First is his show. And we do a show called Make Movies Great Again, where we just watch 80s movies and say how much better they are than the movies today. And we just watched Demolition Man.
Ooh.
And good Lord, that movie is prescient.
Yeah, that movie is Demolition Man is actually prophetic in the way not in like what's actually happening in the world, but in the way they utilized technology, because that movie was made in 95, 94? Late 90s,
93.
Right? 93.
93.
So in 93 that movie was made, and check this out. The international release didn't use Taco Bell.
Yeah, they use Pizza Hut.
They use Pizza Hut. Yeah. So that's what we're going to see. It's like streaming services are going to start making money off of modifying like the background signs and what kind of soda someone's drinking for product placement on the fly. They're using
because they don't have Taco Bell internationally. Yeah.
Right. So they're going to, coming up here pretty soon, you're going to see like, let's say you're watching Star Trek Legacy in 2024 and some guy he's drinking like Jack Daniels, but they're going to swap it over to some other, alcohol depending on whoever's sponsoring that particular episode,
Right. Some kind of British. Yeah, like regionalized product placement.
Right. And then it can actually base it. Oh, it's going to get really crazy when it's basing it on your preferences.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So in the background, there's like a pack of Red Bull Zero, and I'm like, oh, that's right, I gotta buy that Red Bull Zero.
that was predicted in that Tom Cruise movie with Steven Spielberg set in the future. It would like
Minority
scan
Report.
your retina, figure out who you are, and then place personalized billboards.
Yeah, Minority Report
walked.
is what you're talking
Minority
about.
Report. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, we got a good show today. As you can see, we are not talking about slavery. Just so you guys know, we will not be. We'll not be discussing slavery.
Oh, we're going to reference that again, huh? All right.
Although, now that I think about it, there's a couple topics today that might get into that, so hold on to your butts.
Anybody who doesn't know who I am a political YouTuber. I do political.
Right.
I have a political YouTube channel called Mr. Reagan, and I have a film critical, pop culture channel called Alpha Critic. So those are my two channels, and there is a lot of crossover, I would say, in media and politics these days.
Yes, there is. So, we got our first super chat. So let me explain how this works. If you look at the top left, we have the Stream Hero. Okay, right now it's currently on the Popcast. Every time a super chat comes in, that knocks the life down off the Stream Hero, and it'll eventually replace whoever the top donator at that time is. And whoever is the Stream Hero the longest at the end of the stream, we're going to spin a wheel, an actual wheel, and we'll get you guys an awesome gift. And here's how it works. If you are the Stream Hero and you're trying to keep your position at the top of the hill, your super chats actually add life. And hopefully this all works correctly, because last week it worked, but someone gave so much money up front so quickly that it never swapped over to someone else.
So, guys, stop giving Popcast so much money, is what he's saying.
That is not what I'm saying. That's not at all what I'm saying. The only reason we can do this is because of your awesome support. All right. By the way, thank you.
Oh, by the
Ken.
way, and as I should introduce myself properly, as well as hosting a political YouTube channel and a pop culture YouTube channel, I'm also a dick.
Yes. Okay. All right. I knew we were going to get there at some point. Thank you, Ken, for your $22 coming in hot. And he just says, hey, guys. Well, hey, Ken. I'm glad you're here. Ken, by the way, has been supporting us since literally our first channel, which was 3 or 4 channels ago. Like, we started our channel on Mixed Teas back like almost 10 years ago. He was there during that channel, and then he came with us to Popcast Prime, and now he's on Popcast Unleashed, and he's actually a member on both channels. Just so you know, Ken, you are a member on both channels. That is not required, but it is appreciated.
Ken, you were a badass.
Ken is a badass. Latino Slant. Can I build a wall around Mr. Reagan?
Latino Slant. I love you, man.
We were on Latino Slant's show a couple weeks ago. This guy's awesome. Okay, so our topics today, pretty quick. We are going to be talking about Star Trek Legacy. We did hit the 50K petition milestone, and we did get some messaging from change.org, which is pretty awesome. We'll go into that.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks live action crossover. I do not understand how that's going to work, but I do have some ideas involving time travel. So hopefully that pans out and it's not a complete mess. I have a fast XXX theory. No, I'm not talking about pornography. I'm talking about the fact that they have now turned the Fast X movie, the final movie, into a 3-part movie. So it's going to be Fast X, and I'm assuming Fast X2 or XX, and then Fast X3 or Fast XXX. And I have a wild theory involving how that film franchise will connect to his Triple X franchise. So stick around for that. That's going to be fun. And a little bit Netflix revisionist history. We're going to talk about how to do revisionist history right. Because Netflix has done it both right and wrong with 2 different shows. And we're going to go over both those today. It's not racism, okay? It's just simple math. And I'm going to explain it. And that's it, man. That's what we're talking about today. And then after the show, we have a members section. So, man, I got to ask, there's one thing that's been bothering me, and I'm going to bring it up publicly, specifically about you, Mr. Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Molegate 2023.
Oh, no. Did you watch my live stream?
Not yet, but I remember you having a mole.
Okay.
What happened to the mole?
I was doing this live stream the other week, and about halfway through the live stream, somebody paid me. I think they gave me like a $10 super chat, and they were like, what happened to the mole? So I get into talking about the mole, and my viewers just declined. I could just see it in real time, viewership declining. So guys, don't log off. We will get off this subject quickly. I'll just say real quick, I never intended to grow a mole. Okay, I got it in my late 30s. It was never part of my face, so it was always a little weird for me. But actually, it kind of became like a thing just as I started my YouTube channel, so people became accustomed to it. That was right when my nieces actually were very young, so they only knew me with the mole as well.
Right.
And then I went to the doctor because my fans were saying you might have cancer. You got to get that checked. So I went to the dermatologist. She took a biopsy, realized that it was completely fine, like there was nothing wrong with me at all. But now I had a little cut in the mole, and she goes, "Do you want me just to laser that off now because it looks kind of messed up? I messed up your mole, your beautiful heart-shaped mole now looked like Pac-Man." So I was like, "Yeah, go ahead and laser it up." So she zapped it off. That was it. It was kind of like a spur-of-the-moment decision. I wasn't intending to cause a big furor all over the internet, but there you go. Sometimes these things have consequences.
Yeah. I was actually trying to show an image, and I messed up my screen. But...
Showed the porn you were looking at earlier today.
No, that's not true. No, it's not true. Actually, I'm gonna show it. I'm just gonna fix this real quick. This is nope, that's not right. There it is.
Oh, there's the bull. Yeah. That's my friend Lana. Lana was a fan of my show. She commented once on my show, And I was like, why does this girl have like 100 replies to her comment? I thought she was maybe a big YouTuber. This is when I very first started. And found out she was a very small-time YouTuber. I asked her to come on the show. She had an interesting take on Jordan Peterson. We had a nice show, and we talked a little bit about production value and stuff. She did some video that went viral. She now has like over 1 million subscribers. Lana Blakely.
Really?
If you're a chick, you're gonna love her channel. Very kind of like she became big talking about how she's an introvert, and that became like a popular thing for a while. Like being an introvert is kind of cool, and so she became like a real big deal. She's way bigger than me now, which is kind of funny.
Wow, is being introvert cool? Because I'm really inverted, so just saying.
Yeah, well, inverted and introverted are two different things. But
I see.
We don't want to know about your junk there, Brian.
Ooh. Another super chat from Kenneth LaRogue. Thank you, Ken, again. You need an emoji with the two of you pulling out your hair. Good for time travel stories. Yes, I do need to create a time travel emoji. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I didn't want to... no embarrassment. I actually had a mole right here a while ago. And if you look at my old shows, you'll see it, right? And then I had a similar thing. I went to a doctor for something completely different. And she was like, hey, you want me to take a look at that? And I'm like, I mean, if it's going to take less than 10 minutes, sure. Like, I got to get
It's very quick. It's very quick. Yeah.
And then, she chops into it. And now all of a sudden you have like this piece of skin on your face.
Yes.
So I just had to remove it. Yeah. All right, man. Let's get into this story. So we did, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we had a petition up. We actually have a few petitions, but this petition's the most famous of them. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone just reminded me. If you look at the top right, that ticking counter, those are all the super chats. That's the leaderboard basically for the super chats for this month. So as those come in, those numbers will be updated, and that's just a way for us to express our appreciation for literally the reason we're able to do this, because I couldn't pay the internet bill without you guys. Just being honest. I'm not independently wealthy like Mr. Reagan is. So, all right. So we do have a petition, and our petition started about a week before Picard season 3 started. It was called simply "Make Star Trek Legacy" with Terry Matalas as showrunner. That evolved into a change.org/Star Trek Legacy, and eventually we got word that Star Trek Legacy was on Terry's mind. This petition started off pretty slow, and it's been just ripping up the Twitter sphere. And it's reached 50K Tuesday night, and now it's at 51,636. And it was interesting. I was already going to talk about this today because this is a milestone, right? Because we actually got a message from an actual email from change.org. Not like a form email, like an actual email from a person, which I know that sounds crazy. That a business would actually, communicate with real people. But we got an actual real communication from a real person that expressed how awesome our petition was, how great it was been going. And they're really happy with it, with the updates and everything. And they wanted to help us signal boost it. And now that it's where it's at, they're going to help us get it in front of the right people. So we're making some serious waves here. We've had... this is our third petition on change.org. They all have thousands of signatures, but we've never actually gotten real-time communication from the organization. So that's huge.
What did they say?
They say they're going to help us signal boost it, and they're going to, and as it's signal boosting, they're going to pick the appropriate time to get it in front of, to make sure that the eyes of the decision makers involved in the petition have a chance to see it and respond to it.
Well, is this the first petition you've done that's positive?
No, we've made other petitions. I'll show you. We have
but I mean, a lot of petitions are like stop this from happening. Negative, right? This is make this happen. Which
yes,
is positive.
All of our petitions are positive. Oh, maybe Mr. Reagan doesn't watch our show. We are actually bastions of optimism.
Oh,
we criticize things that require criticism, but we always go into something new with the face of optimism, positivity.
I am a bastion of realism, which is why I believe in the IQ test and the racial analysis of IQ.
Okay, don't get me going. Look here. There's realist.
I just had to say something remarkably provocative.
Let me explain. There's realist, right? Optimist, and there's pessimist.
For the record, I don't know one way or another whether IQ tests regarding race are accurate. I just thought I'd say something that you would make you uncomfortable.
Right. I see that. I see what you're doing right now. Here's the deal. You can be a realist and still be optimistic. I'm an optimistic realist. I look at everything the way it's supposed to be. When I criticize something from my subjective opinion, I'm criticizing it based on what I feel about it. When I criticize something for a logical reason, I look at the logic problems. I go, well, explain this to me. And if you can't explain to it, explain something to me in a TV show or a movie or a story or whatever, or even politically. Hey, I got questions. And if you
let me explain this concisely. You're honest.
I'm honest. Yes.
You're honest.
So because I'm honest, I'm not gonna throw a negative bent into things I love, like Stargate, the Orville, or even Star Trek. Star Trek has made some poor decisions in the last few years, for sure. But one decision Star Trek did not make poorly was hiring Terry Matalas.
No, that was brilliant.
And when we had the chance to see Terry Matalas, see the show months early, and we got the chance to talk to Terry Matalas, we realized pretty quickly.
We're talking about Picard season 3.
Right, talking about Picard season 3. We realized pretty quickly that Terry Matalas is special, and what he made is very special. So we traded the petition about a week before the show came out, and it didn't have legs. Like no one was really clicking on it because no one knew how good it was. But as the time went on, people got behind it, and we had some awesome people on Twitter, like Fleet Admiral. I'm forgetting your name right now. I'll look it up. I'll put it in the description. And a bunch of other people that really signal boosted it. And then recently, even Jerry Ryan saw our video. I'm not sure how, but she saw the video, she retweeted, and she goes, "This is pretty cool."
Because she would be the captain. And but what's interesting about this is that because it's so positive, because it's a big franchise, and I would say, you're not sort of the typical advocate for modern Star Trek.
I'm not.
Right?
No.
That, so a channel like yours advocating the show, I imagine that Paramount would like you guys and would actually use this to then promote such a show if they were already planning to do it, which they may be.
All right. I mean, that would be...
I don't know. I mean, you would know better than me. You keep track of this news better than I do.
Well, so the writer's strike is throwing some wrenches into the plan. It's entirely possible. So what you said is correct. Like, yeah, it would make sense for them to embrace the community that is so behind this, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Except for the guy in charge is a guy named Alex Kurtzman, and I'll give you some history on this dude. He doesn't
I'm aware of Alex Kurtzman.
Okay, he doesn't make decisions that are beneficial to beneficial to the Star Trek or Paramount. He makes decisions that are beneficial to himself.
Yeah.
And he has been talking about a couple other shows like Starfleet Academy, which is basically Star Trek meets the CW with a bunch of whiny teenagers talking about their feelings in the future. And another show called Star Trek Section 31 with Michelle Yeoh. And he wants to just capitalize on Michelle Yeoh's success right now. So because those shows are already greenlit,
right.
It's going to be very difficult for him they can only have so many shows at a time. It's going to be difficult for him to admit that those are not as popular as a potential Star Trek legacy.
Those are going to be losers. I'm going to predict that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be optimistic about Starfleet Academy, but like everything I look at.
Can I just give my 2 bits on your petition?
Yeah.
I hate this idea.
Okay. How do you really feel?
I do, and I'm going to tell you why I hate it. And everybody who's watching this is going to hate me for saying that. But I didn't really like the new characters on Picard Season 3. Now, I will say that all the legacy characters were great, but I felt like Picard's son, right, Jack Crusher, was way too overly dramatic. His performance was very theatrical, I would say.
Sure.
Also, the chick that was, I forget her name, she's the black chick, that's an older lady. Yeah, Raffi. She's also a little bit overly dramatic, a little bit less so than Jack Crusher, but she was always that way. She was the best of the Picard characters, I would say. So to bring her onto this show was
Everything you're
fine.
saying right now is the opposite of the majority of the opinions in the chat right now.
Yeah, I you can all hate me, and I'm fine with it. But Raffi was like okay, but I don't like love her by any means.
Sure.
I think Geordie's daughter was fine. She was good.
Which
I
one?
don't. The one that they're bringing into the new.
Yeah.
What they would be bringing into the new show.
Crash the Forge. Right?
She's like, she's the exactly.
She has the
Crash
cute
Forge,
smile.
exactly. She's got the cute smile. She's a cute chick. I would say that because I always have a problem with like race swapping or putting in, whatever people of color just for the the virtue signaling points and whatnot. Right. But like she's Geordie's daughter, of course she's going to be black, and she's actually she was actually charming on screen. I would say that she was definitely watchable. So she was probably my favorite of the new characters. I also, of course, like 7 of 9. Who doesn't like her? So there are aspects, but I like looking at that crew at the end of the end of Picard season 3. I just didn't see that as a cast worthy of a show of itself. I mean, again, obviously, the 7 of 9 character could be the captain of a starship. Fine, like that would be great, actually. But the rest of the cast, I just don't see that as being a show I would want to watch. If it does become a show, I will, of course, give it a shot. I will watch it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to be proved wrong. I didn't expect Picard season 3 to be good, and heck, look how good that was. So I don't know. Right. Maybe I'm wrong.
It all depends on the writers and showrunners, man. So like if Terry Matalis is the guy in charge of this, it's going to be good. Every new show.
Well, that's not necessarily true. The writing can be good, but if the cast isn't eminently watchable, like you watch that whole legacy cast come in, every one of those actors is a very good, competent actor. And they just play their roles beautifully. I would say that they were better than they were even back in the Star Trek Next Generation days. They were fantastic.
Yeah, but you got to understand something, man. You are coming from the perspective of their entire characters have been well established for 40 years. True. You already know their characters well.
True.
As a legacy fan. These other characters had 10 episodes to grow on you, and they had 10 episodes.
Doesn't matter. I'm not
looking
at it like that.
They had 10 episodes to grow on you while in the background because the legacy characters were in the foreground.
You can have a new character that outshines old characters very easily. I've seen that a million times in projects. That like the older legacy characters massively outshined the new characters on Picard season 3. I believed the contrast was very obvious to me.
Yeah, but I believe it was written that way. No.
It was because I liked how the Jack Crusher character was written. I didn't like how he was performed.
Oh, I see. So you don't like the way it was performed. But I do believe that like Crash the Forge's character was written to be a background character. So
yeah, and she acted well, and she was fun. I told you she was my favorite of the new characters.
And regarding Raffi, she had so much baggage from the first 2 seasons that fans had such a hard time getting behind. Like the change in that character from the first 2 seasons to this season is pole shifting. Like she is so much better.
She is better. Yeah, she is better. And she was never the worst of those characters. I mean, all the characters in Picard season 1 and 2 were just like cringeworthy. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was this sort of like cute immigration chick who was definitely watchable, but that's just because she was like ridiculously beautiful girl.
Are you talking about the Doctor?
Yeah, the Doctor. Yeah,
of course.
But, yeah.
She looked like a person you would meet in like downtown LA at one of the coffee shops, like.
Yeah. Actually, you know what's funny? I saw her pictures modeling something. This is kind of bragging, but I'm going to do it anyway. I was at Nordstrom's with my ex, and we're looking at. She was trying to buy perfume or something like that, and there was a picture of that girl, that actress. I think it was her. Is she the same actress that was in Andor?
Oh, it looks very. She might. I'm not sure though. I have to look. You put me on this.
Well, anyway, so it was the Andor chick. The Andor chick was marketing something, and her face was, and I was like, oh, I know who that girl is. I was thinking in my head, I know who that girl is, but I didn't say I know who that girl is. Like I know who that actress is. I said, oh, I know her. Right. That's kind of how it came out. And my ex, thinking that I had dated her because I live in LA and occasionally you do meet celebrities and things like that. My ex looked at me like, you son of a bitch. Like, and I was just like, no. She's not one of my exes. I just saw her in a show recently. And she was like, whatever. Like, she genuinely thought I had dated that girl, which I thought was quite a funny.
Yeah, her name is Adria Arjona.
Mm-hmm.
Adria.
Are they different girls?
They are.
They must be different.
But
girls.
they are different.
They look very similar.
But they look very similar. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Of course you're gonna humble brag on that. It's funny. We do have a super chat from August TV. Strange New Worlds Lower Deck crossover detracts from both. Lower Decks is too goofy. Yeah, in its animated form, I agree with you. We don't know how it's going to be in its live action. We're going to talk. I have some theories on that. We also have a new Unleashed hero, No Money G, for $20. I'll admit I was done with STD, referring to Star Trek Discovery, and Picard for good after the garbage they put out. It was you guys and RMB, Robert Meyer Burnett, that got me excited, and even then I had reservations. Hail Terry. Thank you, No Money G. And No Money G is now at the top of the hill, my friends. He is the Unleashed boss. As your super chats come in, you will knock health off of No Money G. Thank you for that, No Money. Okay. Yeah, so the thing is about a legacy, and this clip is already going on 15 minutes, so I'll try to wrap it up with this.
That's my fault.
No, it's okay. The thing is, every show has to start somewhere with new characters that you either have to grow to like or not. If you guys remember a show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I talk about it all the time. If you haven't watched it, you guys should go check it out. The thing is, though, I have told people to go check out this show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was written... It's a Marvel show, but it's not in the new realm of Marvel. It was written by Joss Whedon's brother, actually, Jed Whedon. And it's a really good show. It starts off as a spy thriller, then it goes into like this sort of sci-fi territory, then it's like this sort of existential robotics. Like every season is like a different theme. In fact, that one season, it's like almost like a 50s film noir thing. It's very interesting. But I have told people, go watch this show. It's outstanding. And they go watch it, and they go, what are you smoking? This show is garbage.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, how much of it have you watched? And they go, well, I watched the first season. I'm like, cool. The first season is absolute trash. It is the worst. It's one of the worst shows I've seen. Parts of it are good. The characters are likable, but the show is not. Everyone overacts. The show is sort of overwritten. It expects you to watch every single Marvel movie just to understand what's going on. It's not good. But that is the basis for the characters. And when you get to the second season, you're in love. And every season after that is outstanding. And when you get to the very end, you're almost like, oh my God, this is ending. I can't believe this show is over. And you feel remorse. You feel you feel love for these characters. And I think that there are TV shows that start off with bad seasons, but it sort of sets the foundation for the characters. In fact, if you watched Star Trek The Next Generation, you hate me all you want, but the first season is not very good. In fact, I would say it's bad. Riker's character is weird. It's not. It's sort of, he seems sort of forced. All the characters, the pacing's bad. I do not like the first season. I like the characters in the first season, but the first season's not good. That's why there's this common TV trope where they say, grow the beard. It's because when Riker got his beard, the show got good.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer is kind of like that. I wouldn't say the first season is bad, but because my friends all saw that show in high school, and I missed it. I never watched that show. And then years later, people were still talking about it. This is like in maybe 2005, 2006. People were still talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like their favorite show. They were still watching the show. And I said, okay, I got to watch this show. How is this show still people's favorite of all time show? Right. So I watched the show, and when I told my friend I was going to watch it, he goes, start with season 2. And the same thing, there was a show that is probably one of my favorite of all time shows called Chuck. I don't know if you ever saw the show Chuck.
Oh,
fantastic
Chuck.
Show.
Oh, dude, that's on my top 5 all time shows.
Again, season 1, I would say actually season 1 is excellent, but it's just not quite as good as season 2. Season 2 is like a little bit better. It's like when they finally figured everything out and they had it going on. So you're 100% right.
Chuck season 1 is almost like, it's like never really gets you there. It's always like, here's the premise and let's work around. It's so slow to get to the point where you're just experiencing the life of this guy with a supercomputer in his head.
I mean, it's still a good season. I would definitely
is.
say don't. You should
you
watch
gotta
season
watch it.
1.
But even also Zach Levy is a little. I don't know. He's a little. He's just not in his best form until
he's not in his groove yet. Yeah, nobody's really in their groove yet. But he's still funny. I think season 1 is still. I think season 2 is a little funnier. I think that's why I like season 2 better. But season 1 is kind of an origin story.
Also,
so I think you do
Adam
need to
Baldwin
watch that.
Is so much better. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
just ace throughout the series.
Yeah, he is hilarious, and his chemistry with the Morgan character, is is chef's kiss.
I think in season 2, episode 1, there's a moment where he saves the life. I think this is the episode. He saves Zach Levi's character. He saves his life, and Zach Levi's character Chuck goes, "Oh my gosh, you saved my life! Thank you!" And he turns to him and he goes, "Keep your pants on, Bertowski."
yeah. That's great.
I just love that line. It's such a perfect line for that character. But I disagree a little bit with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't really remember that show 100%, but I did watch, I think, the first 3 seasons. And I think the first season I thought, okay, I can see potential here. Like, I didn't love it, but I was like, okay, I could see where they're going. And then they took a sharp turn in season 2, I think. It might have been season 3, but they took the sharp turn in a completely different direction. And I thought, okay, they didn't like the direction they were going in season 1, so they changed it. But now I'm kind of like lost. I don't really even know what they're doing with this. And then by season 3, I think I just stopped watching. I was like watching. I thought this is terrible.
So the
and
thing
I just
about
couldn't
Agents
keep
was
watching.
Every season was a completely new theme. Like there was an
really
entire
work
season
for me
where they were
because
basically in the
you
Matrix.
kinda, like in the era of binge watching, you want a kind of like show long story arc to some degree, right? And we weren't getting that with that show. It was this weird directionless show.
For me, it was like watching. Imagine Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Every season was like a long movie, and so there was a new antagonist every movie, you know. And that's why it worked for me. Plus, you had 22 episodes.
I will say I didn't watch through the whole entire series, so I can't comment on it in the same way you can.
Well, I'll tell you this. Once you get past the framework season, I forgot what season that is, and the Fitz character comes into his own, and it's really cool because he actually experiences 2 lifetimes because he lives an entire lifetime digitally, where he's a bad guy. And then he comes out.
Oh, interesting.
He comes out of this his coma, whatever you want to call it, and he has 2 minds now, where he's experienced an entire life where he's the bad guy, but he also has his own life where he's the good guy, and now he has sort of the best of both worlds, where he's able to sort of utilize that dichotomy in a way just to get things done. And some people don't like it, but it makes him such a badass.
It's interesting to hear somebody so passionate about a show that so many people hate.
That's true. That's fair. Okay, from Super Chat from Michael Nemo, and we're gonna start chipping off New Money G's hero Unleashed Hero here. He says Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is best around the Winter Soldier release, in my opinion. Yeah, that was when they were trying to stay sort of tangentially connected to the universe, but Disney wasn't telling them anything. So they had no idea what to write. And you can tell when they're supposed to be writing about like the Thanos snap, but they don't know if Thanos is going to snap or not. So like the whole time they're writing as if like we have a major problem coming, but we don't know what it is. And they only know what what us normal and plebs know. Literally no one was telling the writers what was going to happen in the movies, so they couldn't write around it properly.
They're kind of hamstrung, yeah.
All right, so that's it, guys. Let us know what you guys think about Star Trek Legacy. Do you guys obviously want it to happen, but are you in Reagan's camp where you're like, you know what, we need different characters, different actors, or are you already in love with the characters we have? I'll tell you, from my perspective, I love Jack. I think he's a great character. I love Sydney Watson, Jack Crash and Forge. Rafi.
Hold on. Sydney Watson.
I think it's Sydney Watson. No, I'm sorry. That's not the right name.
I have a friend named Sydney Watson. She's got a YouTube channel.
I might have said the name wrong.
Well, they could have the same name. It's possible.
Yeah. But in
subscribe to Sydney Watson's show, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, Sydney the Forge. I don't know why I said Watson. Sydney the Forge. I really like these characters. Rafi's character had major baggage and still sort of came out of it. As long as they do the show, the way Terry has made every TV show he's made so far, I believe that it'll be more than successful. So,
I mean, they're going to add other characters, not just going to be those few. But yeah, you have the right to be wrong about Jack Crusher. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, just a second.
Holding. Technical difficulties. 1 moment, please.
Okay, let's move on from this.
Let's do it.
Woo!
Are you looking for your list of things to talk about?
No, I just got a bunch of text messages random out of the blue. So
there's dead time, ladies and gentlemen, which means I'm going to talk about something. What
oh
am I
no!
gonna talk
Oh
about?
wait!
No, stop! Hell no!
I was looking at my my notes. I don't know if Shane's doing his show tomorrow, but he has a show on Fridays called The Palantir. And if you missed it last week, make sure to see that this week. Okay.
I can. Awesome. If you're still working, I can list off my recent episodes of Mr. Reagan.
No, we're here. We're going to talk about.
Okay,
fast.
all right, we're back. Okay, sorry.
I don't even know what those are. I'm afraid. Do you even know?
You're terrified,
especially like your titles are so like salacious.
I try to make them as provocative as possible. Yes.
Okay, so because Shane is not here today, I get to talk about something he normally doesn't want to talk about, which is Fast and the Furious. And around this time, the second I bring up Fast and Furious, I can see Shane's eyes rolling in the back of his head. Because
really, that's interesting because it is objectively a good series.
Well, the thing is, Shane's tastes are just more highbrow than mine. Like he likes
no. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, but this is what we call bullshit. Okay, I don't agree with this. If you don't like action films or you don't like popcorn movies, you're highbrow. Okay, I only watch Shakespeare.
Well,
that's the only thing I watch is Shakespeare.
He can enjoy it, but he doesn't see any worth in it past the enjoyment. So he doesn't want to sit there talking about something where it's nothing but explosions and gravity-defying nonsense.
Yeah,
and I understand
to be able to recognize. Like, okay, look, I don't like. There's certain kinds of films I don't like, certain genres of film I don't like, but I can still look at it and objectively say this is why it's good. If you're good at film analysis, you should be able to watch something you don't personally like and recognize the value in it and say, okay, this is good because X, Y, Z.
That's true.
Like these films, they're not meant to be these great philosophical. Look, there's some books that you read to feel smart. That's a reason that you read those books. The film equivalent of those would be foreign films or old films like from the 30s or independent films that are like very intellectual. If you want to feel smart, watch a French short film called Le Jeté. Watch that movie. It's effing brilliant, and then you can feel smart for the rest of the day.
Yeah,
all right? Then after that, go watch. After that, go watch Fast and Furious. And look, especially the first film, that's just a damn good film. I'm sorry. Yes, it's a popcorn movie.
Look, okay, I see your point, but I must be a bad critic because I am not going to watch a foreign film in another language that is shot on sepia in 4:3 aspect ratio.
I will. I'm that guy. I love those kind of things.
And you see,
I love that. No. Watch Le Jeté. It's from the 60s.
And see, you and Shane are the same. You and Shane appreciate the art of it. Okay.
Yeah.
When I say Shane's highbrow, he just is. He appreciates the goodness of things.
But I am the same, and I can still recognize the value in a film like Triple X. I mean, I don't love Triple X, I'll be honest, but I do like Fast and Furious films. I do like the Fast and Furious films. I think I
appreciate explosions. I want to see explosions.
I mean, who doesn't?
And bright lights and lens flares, and
that's an element. That's an element that you have to think. Okay, should I add this or should I not? And if you're smart and you want to get a big audience, you will add that stuff.
Yeah, you got and that's what Fast and Furious has done well is they've leaned into it. I also appreciate how insanely arrogant Vin Diesel is about the Fast and Furious franchise.
Is he?
He compared the franchise to Lord of the Rings, and he compared himself to J.R.R. Tolkien, He said that he understood why Tolkien stopped writing because it's so hard to continue the mythology.
Wait, what? Do you have a clip of this? I want to watch.
It was
this.
it was in an interview. I actually found it because Shane's
like
AI
a printed interview.
Yeah, Shane's AI. We have a AI project called Shine, and it's basically SHAIN3.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of creating one of our Shane videos, he it located all this information, and I looked at the interview in Variety where he actually says that.
That's unbelievable. That's hilarious. I love that. Well, he's kind of a funny guy. Like if you listen to him in interviews, he cracks jokes. He's got a sense of humor. So maybe he was joking. It didn't come across in the
He was not joking.
text. Okay.
No. He believes that. He sees that. He sees this Fast and Furious as a his Mona Lisa, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it.
Listen, okay. They're good for what they are, but I don't know if they're comparable to Lord of the Rings.
No, they're not. They're not comparable to Lord of the Rings. It was a silly notion. No, here
officially put that out there.
And on that note, Shane loves Lord of the Rings, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's pretty good.
No, I'm not.
Because it's sort of slow to me.
Movies.
I have a hard time getting into it, But
I understand that.
I understand
that. I get why people love those films. I understand why people might not love those films because I'm not the biggest fan of the movies. But the reason I'm not as big of a fan of the movies as other people is because when I was young, I did actually read the books. And I had a particular vision of what the book should be. And when the movies came out, it didn't 100% fit my perception of what the book should be.
Yeah.
And I just, especially when they did the Hobbit movies, that they went off the rails with that. I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah, the Hobbits for me. What they did was they wanted another trilogy, so they took one book and they made it into 3 movies.
And the Hobbit's a much smaller epic. It's something that isn't quite as there's not as much fighting and action and stuff like that as there's in Lord of the Rings.
Well, so in Lord of the Rings, they made 3 movies out of 3 books, right?
Right. And they're huge books.
And they're huge books. And then you have this tiny little prequel book, The Hobbit, and they turn that one smaller book into 3 movies.
Yeah, it was a money grab. It was a cash grab. It was total trash. It was offensive to me personally. Yeah.
Yeah, you see, Shane would disagree. Because
Shane's just wrong.
He likes the story elements of it.
Yeah, but the story of The Hobbit is different than the Hobbit movies. The Hobbit movies were just some weird trash cash grab. I don't understand those. Anyway,
I mean, I pretty much agree with you. No, to be safe, I do like movies that have thought processes. I like movies that take a long time to set up, but because of my attention deficit disorder, you got to add some explosions in there to keep me going. That's all. That's just a fact, Jack. So the news today is Fast Surprise. Vin Diesel teases a 12th Fast and Furious movie. So right now we're going into Fast 10, Fast X, whatever you want to call it. He already said that there was going to be a 2-part movie, which means that this movie probably doesn't end the best way. Empire Strikes Back or Infinity War. And then they're going to complete the saga in Fast 11. But apparently the studio is saying, we need 3 movies out of this big boy. So now it's going to be 3 movies. And here is my insane theory. And I even wrote it out. I wanted to make sure that I had all the logic correct. Vin Diesel did a little movie a while back called Triple X. And then there was Triple X with Ice Cube called Triple X State of the Union. I don't know if you recall this.
I do. I actually watched both of those movies. Yeah. And Triple X was quite a long time ago, but it was kind of playing off the X Games, I think.
Right. Yeah. I was like, yeah, because
extreme sports.
So the character in the first movie played by Vin Diesel was called Xander Cage. And he was an extreme sports guy. He's like snowboarding, bungee jumping,
/ international spy.
/ international spy. Right. And in the second movie, they threw all that out the window and they just went with a rapper. which is fine, I guess.
Yeah, they got rid of Vin Diesel, right? He has a cameo, I think. Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
Oh,
No.
he doesn't have it. He doesn't. Even
No,
have a
the
cameo.
studio was actually upset with him, so they killed him off in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I don't. It's been a long time since I've seen those.
Yeah, they literally said, and I
Yeah.
quote, I think in the movie, they go, they come to the Ice Cube character, and they're like, Xander Cage died outside of Brazil. That was like his biggest reference, was like he just got
Right.
capped in Brazil somewhere.
Right.
So, and then the third movie, when they realized that the second movie didn't work, they tried to revitalize the franchise with Vin Diesel again, and they came out with Triple X3, The Return of
Oh, that's
Xander
right. They
Cage.
gave Ice Cube a cameo in that one.
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. All right. That's how that worked.
So the movie is basically about this guy who's, like you said, extreme sports guy / international spy. Now, in the movie, he does admit that Xander Cage, who said Xander Cage is my real name? That's my government name. So Xander Cage is the name the government gave him when he became a spy, right? So
Mhm.
here's my insane theory.
Yeah.
The entire Fast and Furious franchise is one long prequel to Triple X.
Okay. Yeah. It's a funny. It's a. You know you're wrong though, right?
Hold up.
Okay.
So we go Fast X, Fast Double X, Fast Triple X. And then he gets caught by the government. And they're like, look, we'll let you live normal life, but you got to work for us now because you're clearly a superhero. And your new name? Xander
Yeah.
Cage.
Right. Right. Okay, so here's what I think. Here's what I think about that. This is one of those theories that's kind of a lot of fun, but I feel like Brian. I feel like you're pitching this
Yeah.
as opposed to it being a theory
Yeah.
of what they're actually
I am.
thinking to do. I
And then
think you're pitching it
After
as
this,
your
I
idea
want
of
to
what
see
they
a
should
Triple
do.
X Jurassic Park crossover.
Yeah.
where Vin Diesel as Dom Toretto, aka Xander Cage, is
Right.
riding a rice rocket with a T-Rex chasing him down the freeway.
I love it. You know what they should do for one of the new movies? They should bring in Tom Cruise as the villain.
Oh yeah, you'd have to.
Tom
pay him.
Cruise is never a villain.
It's gonna cost a lot of money.
He would be a good villain. You know, that just came to me randomly. That was completely off the top of my head, and that's probably a terrible idea. But I just
Amazing.
thought that would be interesting.
It's another crossover with Mission Impossible.
Because that's where I was going with that. Like then he becomes
So we have
Ethan Hunt.
Fast and Furious, Triple X, Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible.
Let's just combine all of Universal's properties into one giant movie.
Yeah. Perfect.
I actually wrote like a thing. I was like, in this candle-stained backstory, the high-octane world of street racing serves as a training ground for the future extreme sports enthusiasts turned secret agents. The adrenaline-fueled mission depicted in Fast and Furious franchise acts as a stepping stone, preparing our beloved characters for the world of espionage and top-secret assignments showcased in Triple X, Return of Xander Cage.
Have you ever played the Need for Speed games?
I did, yeah. I actually, I was really into those for a while because I liked the idea of customizing a car, but I didn't have any money to actually customize a car.
There was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the kind of fantasy. Years ago, my ex-girlfriend introduced me to Need for Speed, and we found this game, Payback, which is not considered the best game in the franchise. But I absolutely love this game. I think it's totally underrated. It's very obviously inspired by the Fast and Furious films. And but I think it's a really good underrated film that if you guys want to play a video game of Fast and Furious, I think Need for Speed Payback is the best option that you have.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yep.
Okay, guys, moving on from Fast X, Return of Xander Cage. We're going to be talking about the Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover. Okay. So, a short while ago, we learned that Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds were going to be crossing over. In fact, we made a video about it months ago where we're like, okay, well, how's that going to work? Who's going to cross over to what? At one point, we assumed that the Strange New Worlds cast in some way would join the Lower Decks animated show as some kind of holodeck program or something like that, whatever. And then we learned, no, actually, the two main characters from Lower Decks, the cartoon, Mariner and Boimler, I can't say his name, are actually going to be crossing into the live-action world with Strange New Worlds. Now, a few days ago, there was a teaser that dropped on a network in, I want to say, Canada, outside the country, and they accidentally showed the moment where the two characters from Lower Decks enter the world of Strange New Worlds. And about 5 minutes later, I think Paramount had all their families murdered and they took the video down. But it's an what we saw, and I can't show it without probably getting stricken here. We actually saw the two characters on the transporter pad in their Lower Decks uniforms. And there's something weird going on here, because Lower Decks is set in 2380. And Strange New Worlds is set in 2259, which means the only way this works,
gotta go back in time,
is time travel. Now, I hate to talk about time travel again, but I hate time travel. Like,
really? Really? Why is that?
I have this love-hate relationship with time travel because when it's done correctly, it's the absolute best.
Yeah, Back to the Future, one of the best ever.
Back to the Future, 12 Monkeys. There's a good examples of amazing time travel. I actually liked Palm Springs with Adam, whatever his name is, the guy from I forgot his name. But Palm Springs on Hulu is an amazing movie. But the thing is, a lot of the time, and especially in Star Trek, it's just not done correctly. It's all over the place. It hurts the existing canon. It actually just craps over the entire story you're trying to tell, and it doesn't make sense logically. There's too many logic problems. I have gotten Shane and I have gotten millions of views off of trying to explain time travel TV shows. Andy Samberg, thank you, Archmage. Andy Samberg. There's just so much going on with time travel. I would rather avoid it at this point because it really doesn't work out. In fact, Dan Harmon, the creator of Rick and Morty, had a rule that they can do whatever they want in Rick and Morty, but they would never do time travel.
Interesting.
And it's really interesting because in the garage, in Rick's garage, there's a box that says time travel stuff. And at one point, he tells Ricky not to touch that box. So they won't do time travel because it narratively is just too hard to get right?
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
butterfly effect ruins everything.
Right. Because and no matter how clever you are, it just and then so you start asking questions like, well, so are there multiple timelines or is there one time?
Right.
And then the audience, the fans are sort of split on it, and everyone
very easy to create a paradox, as Doc warns. Yeah.
Right. So I don't want time travel, but it looks like the only way these two characters come out of their century, nearly over 100 years in the future, is time travel. So I came up with some options. Yep, temporal anomaly. At some point, they're in a shuttle and some kind of riff in time space. I think that would be a massive cop out because literally everyone's gonna say the same thing. Well, it looks like a temporal anomaly, Captain. Oh no. And they just get dropped into Strange New Worlds somehow.
I referenced Le Jeté, and I told everybody to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
That short film, that French short film from the 60s, is literally all about time travel. And I actually think it's one of the best time travel. I think it's one of the best time travel stories of all time.
Really?
Literally of all time. Yeah. Yep.
Well,
I highly recommend watching it, and don't look it up first because you don't want to. You ever watch the Twilight Zone?
Yeah. The TV
it's very
show?
similar. It's similar to the Twilight Zone. It's all photographs, so it's a kind of artsy kind of a thing. But I assure you will appreciate it. If you don't watch Le Jeté, you are doing yourself a disservice, my friend.
I'll check it out.
Yep.
So the problem I'm seeing here is that the only way it's possible is time travel, and I feel like the only way they can get him there is a tired time travel trope, like a space anomaly or something like that.
Yeah.
And while I like the idea of crossovers, I don't like the idea of doing a crossover like just for the sake of trying to combine the fan bases. It just feels like a money grab to me. It feels like it's just sort of feels cheap.
I disagree a little bit because I think this is just a fun thing to do.
Well, but like it's not, and that's fine. You can have fun in Star Trek. You should, but it's gotta fit. It's gotta fit the quality of what people come to expect from Star Trek, and it's gotta
but
match
dude,
canon.
we're talking about Kurtzman Trek. This is not. Of course, this is going to be terrible.
That's accurate.
But it's because everything that they do is terrible. It's not like people like Strange New Worlds because the captain is kind of Kirk-like. He's a little bit of a tough guy. Yeah. But I think he's like a caricature of the tough white guy. He's this ridiculous. He's what a leftist would write as a conservative, tough captain guy. He's not real. He's very phony to me. I actually really hate that show, maybe more than any of the others. And I'm a little bit, yeah, I know. I have these weird opinions. But the reason is because it comes across that show as an attempt to ameliorate the critics of Kurtzman Trek, as opposed to, while still including all the woke BS that they normally put in, as opposed to just either be yourself, be true to yourself and to your beliefs and make the garbage that you normally make, or, fully, accept what the fans are telling you and fully, change what you're doing properly. Right. He's kind of trying to have the best of both worlds, and it just makes, to me, it just became kind of a monstrosity, this show. I just don't like it.
I like it, but I see it as more like Star Trek. Like if I was watching Star Trek the musical, like imagine if you like
exactly.
There's a Broadway show called Star Trek: The New Generation or whatever. Like I feel like the Strange New Worlds would
being
be
gay is okay. That's kind of what the whole show is to me.
No, there was no. I don't think there was a whole lot of sexuality stuff in Strange New Worlds.
No, but it's kind of that. I don't know. It feels to me. It always felt to me, that show, like they were trying to kind of like more subtly push a woke message as opposed to in your face pushing a woke message.
I just don't like the fact that Captain Pike is literally always cooking. Like he needs to do something else.
Yeah, because they're trying to switch the gender norms. Right. They're saying, look, there's this tough guy and he's also cooking. And then that one chick, she's like a bull-dyke lesbian. She's constantly like awesome. I don't know. I don't remember her name. I think she's some kind of alien.
She has short hair?
Yeah. I've only watched a few episodes.
Yeah, that's
so
Ortega. She's not a lesbian.
I can't stand her.
She just has short hair. You just assume.
No, they're presenting the image of the bull-dyke lesbian. I'm not saying she is.
She's not.
That's the caricature.
You are assuming based on because she has.
No. I'm not assuming she is a bull-dyke lesbian. She's of the bull-dyke lesbian style. She's in that style.
I disagree.
Am I wrong? I don't know.
I think she's one of the characters I actually like a lot.
They're like, women can be tough. Women can be tough.
She doesn't do any of that. What are you talking about? Are you watching the same show?
I mean, I don't know. I stopped watching after like episode 3. I couldn't stand it. Oh,
so you are speaking with only a limited data set.
Very limited data set.
I see.
Admittedly.
All right. Well, that's certainly not what that show depicts. Just so you guys know, there are some problems with the show. Like Shane, my brother who's normally here, he normally goes, it's fine up until you get to the Gorn because he hates what they did with the Gorn canonically. And I have problems with the fact that the captain's always cooking something in his ready room.
Right.
And I do think, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but there's almost too much sexy on the show. Like Spock and T'Pring are just too attractive. And I can't believe I'm saying
Spock to me looks like he took the short bus as a kid. I don't know what they messed up his hair. Everything's wrong about that.
Every time his T'Pring, his fiance, and the nurse Chapel comes on screen, I completely forget that I'm watching Star Trek and I start going into
Nurse Chapel's cute. Yeah, I'll give you that.
But there's good parts about it, and I don't think they're push. I know people are saying they're pushing an agenda. I don't see that yet. I hadn't seen that.
I think
yet.
Nurse Chapel is bisexual, isn't she? Something like that.
I think she is. Yeah, I think she is. But it wasn't the point of her. And it's okay to have bisexual characters. as long as that's not the entire point of the character.
Well, you're okay with the woke stuff in this show because it's subtle, but I see it as a sort of deception. So that's why I like it less than.
I mean, there are
maybe
bisexual
Strange New
people.
World,
As long as their entire, this character's entire story isn't about their sexuality, I don't care what they do.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's still pushing a woke agenda. I think
that's okay.
It's they're using a little subterfuge, which I think is worse than what they did with STD, which was just in your face garbage.
Yeah,
which I think is actually, at least it's honest,
Yeah, STD is honest about how bad they are at their jobs. 201 Studio, Kurtzman's so out of ideas they have to do a crossover, right? Yeah, I don't understand.
I like the idea of a crossover, especially if you're taking cartoon characters and making them live action. To me, if it was good material that they were taking from, it would just be a bit of fun. I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a money grab. I don't, maybe it is for them, but I mean, it's just a kind of a fun idea. I like that kind of thing.
That's fair. I'm cool with fun stuff. I just don't mess up the canon. But then again, maybe
too late.
Maybe you don't care about that, right? I'm constantly concerned with the canon of the story. So, and I don't.
Right, but I
just don't know how a crossover is done without being lazy.
I mean, okay, in Star Trek, let's be honest. In Star Trek, every time they time travel, there is some kind of BS explanation for it. Like Star Trek doesn't treat time travel very well, I don't think.
No.
Early on they did, but then like they're like, oh, this is like, this new phenomena that maybe only exists, once in a gazillion years kind of a situation. So it's very rare and difficult to do and all this kind of stuff. And eventually they've just done time travel so often in Star Trek.
It's so common.
It's become kind of lazy.
It used to be something that was hard to do and like real rare. Like this certain circumstance can only, when this occurs at this moment and this time with this person, then it's possible for it to happen. One in 10,000, Captain. And they're like, there's a time anomaly over there. Don't go over there. Oh, there's another one. My buddy found a time crystal. Like there's too much time travel now. No, you're totally right. Michael Nemo for $5. Rick and Morty can't do time travel because of Doc and Marty. Yes, that's a good point. Rick and Morty is based on Back to the
is
Future.
a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, sure.
Also from Michael Nemo. Thank you, Michael Nemo. Jeet is 12 monkeys. What is that? What's Jeet is 12 monkeys?
Le Jeté. Okay. I said don't look it up, and now you got people super chatting in the stuff I didn't want you to look up. Okay. Thanks a lot, dude. No spoil. What the hell's wrong with you? Like the whole point of watching an old film that new films are based on is like at the end of the film you go, oh, that's where they got this and all that. You have all these. You're wrecking it. Don't tell. Just go watch Le Jeté, audience. Don't listen to this guy. No spoilers.
I did like 12 monkeys. So
yeah. Okay. Well, that guy's ruined it now. It's better than 12 Monkeys. It's better than 12 Monkeys, I would say.
The TV show or the movie?
Le Jeté, the short film, the French short film from the 60s that 12 Monkeys is based on, I think is better than 12 Monkeys.
Okay. Did you like
Even though it doesn't have Brad Pitt.
Did you like Looper?
I did like Looper. It wasn't one of my favorite things. I mean, it was like Looper's a hard movie to watch. It's a very ugly movie.
Right.
But it's a clever idea. So, it's interesting.
There's some logic problems for me though. Like, and this is what movies do. Like, I can recognize that it's entertaining, but I'm getting into the movie and I'm like really into the universe. And I'm like, okay, I like how that works. That's pretty cool. I see that. That's sort of, that's interesting. That's fascinating, whatever. And then they start breaking the movie down and it starts to fall apart logically.
100%.
And it's very difficult for me to stay on board when the logic is just completely thrown out the window. It's like it's
called suspension of disbelief, and your suspension of disbelief is broken. It's a very important thing in film to have suspension of disbelief. That means you allow the audience to immerse themselves into the movie and believe that it's real, even though they know it's not. And if you have major logic problems, and I definitely think Looper suffers from that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that's my. I have a hard time with suspension. I have a hard time going, oh, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. I do that, and at the end of Looper, I'm like, wait. So I know it's supposed to be like this fascinating turn of events where you see that he died or whatever, but you're like, wait a minute, then what? How?
I think people have different levels of tolerance because you have to sort of intentionally do it sometimes. Like a movie is great if you don't have to intentionally suspend disbelief. You just go, yeah, this is totally plausible. Like I can see this happening. This is an interesting exploration of a particular idea or whatever. But when you have to go, okay, this is ridiculous, but let's just put that aside and try to enjoy the movie. Right? If you have to do that, there's a lot of people who are not actually going to be able to enjoy the movie from that point forward. So suspension of belief is very important to establish in a film, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the problem with time travel. A lot of people that are thinking, if they start thinking, they start realizing that there's things that just don't work.
You've just got to listen to that guy from Austin Powers who's like, I think it was Austin Powers 2, where he's like, just don't think about it too much, Austin. And then he turns to the camera and he goes, and that goes for you guys too. I don't remember I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact lines. That's funny. But it was pretty funny.
I mean, yeah, in comedy, you can do whatever you want. All right, well, let us know what you guys think about Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. We'll be watching regardless. Okay. Last topic before we go into the member section. This is very important for everyone to know. We're going to be talking about the Netflix and I purposely saved this as for the last topic before the member section so that we can continue the topic in the member section where we won't be demonetized by YouTube. That's the important part of this. Because I know for a fact, I was almost hesitant to make this a topic so in case you guys didn't know, Shane had an emergency. He can't be here today. Mr. Reagan graciously filled in. I'm looking at the list of topics and I'm like, should I put this topic on here?
With knowing that I'm coming on the show.
With Mr. Reagan as the guest host. I did anyways.
Yeah.
But I put it at the end so that if it starts to get too crazy, I can cut the feed, go to members section,
over to members quickly,
and switch over to members. So if you are a member or you want to be a member, hit that join button below, on either this channel or Popcast Prime, whichever channel you prefer to be a member on. The content is exactly the same. Okay. We're talking about Netflix revisionist history. How to do it right and how to do it wrong. So
there is no way to do it right. Let's be honest. Just do history correctly.
Okay, that's the correct answer. But there's a way to do it where the audience will accept you, and a way to do it where the audience will not. And in this
suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief.
Right. And when it comes to Queen Cleopatra, they did it wrong. This was actually 1% this morning. It's actually gained 2%. An impressive feat.
Well done, Netflix.
It has thousands of ratings. It's at it's not like it's 3% audience, 97% critical. Because usually,
right.
Usually you see the critic rating is like brave, passionate, amazing, and then the audience is like, "Yo, what the f is this, bro?"
I actually want to watch this tonight and do a review for my Alpha Critic channel.
You should.
Because I just watched a review of this from the Metatron. Do you ever watch the Metatron?
No.
I highly recommend him. This guy is a full-on expert on Roman history. He actually watches videos on experts of Roman history and tells you all the stuff they get wrong. He is a genius. Metatron. He just got demonetized from YouTube inexplicably. He doesn't even understand why. He doesn't even think it's because of his politics. He just thinks there was some kind of weird mistake done. He's not even sure. But he is an Italian man, and his breakdown of this movie is phenomenal. If you want to see a breakdown of this Cleopatra show that is from an academic perspective, watch the Metatron. This guy's great.
It's really funny. You're like, oh, this guy's great. His channel's amazing. He was just demonetized. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, if you don't have proof that a channel's great, that's all the proof you need. YouTube demonetized him.
Yeah. All right. So Queen Cleopatra. It's I don't know if it's a documentary. Like, it's shot as if it's a documentary. It's shot in that way where they have like.
Why are you saying documentary?
Oh, I can't say the word correctly.
Documentary.
Documentary. Documentary.
It sounds like a far off star.
Listen,
we're going to documentary.
It's shot. Thank you for keeping me on track there, Reagan. It's shot as a doc. It has interviews with like what appears to be smart people. Coincidentally, just a lot of. It feels like every single Egyptologist is just like a white person with 13 cats. And some white lady with 13 cats. And the crazy thing is, it's the way it's presented to you as some kind of historical, factual thing, and it's shot that way, and it's presented that way. And to be honest, a lot of the facts are correct, from what I can tell. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the time, a lot of the characters, that in name only is correct.
You mean the events as they happened? Right,
the events as they happened pretty much happen that way, and the personalities are pretty close, except for I think Cleopatra was actually more of a monster than she was depicted, to be honest. But the problem was the casting. They cast they are painting Egypt as this. How do I say this without getting demonetized? As if they don't know that Africa is not a country. It's not.
I don't understand that.
Africa's not a country. It's a continent with a lot of different kinds of people, not just one skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
And Egypt is...
I see what you're saying. You're talking about the difference between Northern Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa.
Right. So when people say African American, it's weird to say that when you're like, so let's say you're talking about the actress that plays Queen Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Well, she's not American. She's British. So what do you say? African British? No, you would have to say...
They usually say Afro-Caribbean in the UK. I'm not really... I think because a lot of their black people come from the Caribbean.
Yeah, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The fact are, whoever cast this is casting this as some... They are sort of rewriting the history of the region. Right. And the important part to note is that I'm not one of those guys that cares too much about race swapping. I care in the sense where if that character has been historically this way, whether it's fiction or not, established, you should probably stick it that way. But I'm starting to see this trend where a lot of like say like gingers in Hollywood, especially in comic book movies, are just continually replaced with a different race. And you have this thing where I don't know if it would be such a big deal if it was presented as fiction or as a fictional retelling. But
it would piss me off still.
But then
it would still piss me off.
But then you push it as like a doc where there's actual like Egyptologists talking about it, and then you have Egypt coming out. The actual country of Egypt is like suing Netflix over this thing, and it's just not well received. So I'm trying to be as PC as possible. They made the mistake they made was in the casting. They should have casted an Egyptian person. Or someone who looked...
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Cleopatra wasn't Egyptian. That's the really big thing.
I'm sorry, a Greek person.
There you go. She was like Macedonian Greek. She was white. She was a white Southern European.
Cast someone that looks like what the character is, especially when the entire country of Egypt is looking at what you are depicting as their origins and like, well, wait a minute. you have problems there.
You know what? So here's the problem. A lot of basically anybody who was, I'm not going to use the word because I don't want your channel getting into trouble, but if you were a former indentured servant, like if your ancestors are from, indentured servitude in America or the Caribbean or whatever, your ancestry was from sub-Saharan Africa. A lot of people don't really understand how Africa works. There is something called the Sahara Desert, right? And there was very, very little contact, really no contact, for tens of thousands of years between sub-Saharan Africans and Northern Africans. Northern Africa, was part of like the Mediterranean civilization, right? They had contact with the Levant. They had contact with Greece and all that. So they had access to all the different technological advancements of that region. Sub-Saharan Africa didn't have any contact with those people. So when the Portuguese in the 15th century finally, for the first time, really, Europeans encountered sub-Saharan black Africans. Those black Africans they had not developed the wheel. They didn't even know how to boil water. That is how primitive these people were, right? It was like Europeans tens of thousands of years ago back in the Paleolithic. That's
Right.
the technology that these people had. So that culture, those people, were very, very different than the advanced Egyptians. But because there is this kind of, I guess, I don't know, resentment that some people have of their ancestry and the fact that there's no written history of Africans, they'll take on the written history of the Egyptians and they'll say,
Right.
those are my ancestors because they're all from the same continent. But actually, you got to split Africa up into essentially two continents. You got Northern Africa and you've got Sub-Saharan Africa, which are completely different culturally and technologically and have nothing to do with each other whatsoever.
Right.
So this idea that a lot of Black Americans will wear like Egyptian jewelry and clothes and stuff like that to kind of try to create some kind of connection between the Egyptians and the Sub-Saharan Africans is absurd. And yes, there are the Nubians, which are a darker skinned group that was just south of Egypt. They did have darker skin. They're still not related to you. If your ancestors were the indentured servants in America that we're talking about, they didn't get it from the Nubian culture. They got it from Sub-Saharan Africa, which is completely different. But
And you know what's funny, man?
Anyway.
I can sort of understand that a little bit, though. Like, if you don't have a history to call on, and you see this, the
sure,
center of the original, empire of Egyptians, and it's so close to where you're at. It's much easier to sort of co-opt that and be like, that sounds right. Yeah, I'm definitely part of this advanced super.
Yeah,
advanced
but then, okay. Have you ever heard of the what are they called? Nation of Islam?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Just
so
a second.
the Nation of Islam.
Before you go into this,
Yeah.
please don't get me killed. Just
Well, okay. So you know how Biden just came out and said like white supremacy is the biggest, the most dangerous problem that we have in America today. I don't know any white supremacists personally. I have a conservative political YouTube channel.
Whenever you do Biden's voice, it's hilarious because you do.
Well, he does. He talks like this, don't they all? If you're a Democrat and you drink Bud Light, I used to have a nice deep voice, and then I started drinking Bud Light, and everything changed for me.
Okay.
But anyway, so there's this group called the Nation of Islam. If you look at the statistics of the number of people that are registered in the Ku Klux Klan, and you look at the number of people who are registered in the Nation of Islam, it's like night and day. There are thousands and thousands, I mean, probably millions of people in the Nation of Islam worldwide. I mean, they follow this guy Farrakhan.
Yes.
And they believe,
He's still on Twitter.
And they have. It's ridiculous.
How is he still on Twitter?
The whole thing about the Nation of Islam is that they hate white people. They're racist against white people. It is a hate group, full on what they classify as a hate group, which is usually not true. This is what the Nation of Islam is. All they do is preach white people are evil, white people are bad. And they have this whole revisionist history.
They also talk about Jews and other races too.
Yeah, they do. They do.
How many people I've blocked that I somehow sometimes I stumble into Twitter circles where it's like clearly the Nation of Islam. I'm like, yo, what is it? I'm in the wrong bar, bro.
It's weird. Yeah. Well, they have this whole revisionist history around this guy, Yaqub, right? Which is supposed to be the biblical Jacob. But the concept of Yaqub,
Jacob
in
or
the Nation
Israel?
of Islam. Huh?
Which one? Jacob or Israel? It's important.
Jacob or Israel.
Jacob, that person the character you're referring to has two names, Jacob and Israel. One was the Hebrew name and one was the Islam name.
Well, they're referencing that person. I don't know what the. It's really irrelevant because
Jacob was Jacob when he was walking with God, and Israel. I'm sorry,
Sure.
Israel when he was walking with God, and Jacob when he was not.
It's really irrelevant because the Yaqub of the Nation of Islam is just this insane character that. So they basically make him into this scientist who goes, "I want to rule the world, so I'm going to develop this, through genetic selection. I'm going to find the most pale-skinned black people, and I'm going to breed them until I get white people. And those white people are going to dominate the world, and I'm going to control the white people." And so they preach that at one point the black people will rise up against the white people and take over the rightful throne as dominating the world or something. I mean, it's all completely insane. They have this whole story about Moses using dynamite, even though dynamite was developed, I think, in the late 19th century.
Yes.
The whole thing is completely insane. And they preach this stuff and they say, we are the rightful rulers of the world and white people are just the devil that were created by this evil scientist. I mean, it's a mental story, but thousands and thousands of people, maybe millions of people believe this crap. Right. And a lot of the people that you hear about who go out and murder mass amounts of white people, like in the news, a lot of those people turn out to be members of the Nation of Islam. It's an absolutely horrific group. But this is why you have these ideas like, oh, Egypt was founded by black people. They even say that like the Aztecs were founded by black people and China was founded by black people and Japan were founded. I mean, this whole Nation of Islam thing has completely destroyed the minds of many, many otherwise decent black people who genuinely believe this stuff, and they become radicalized because of it. Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to go there, but that's...
Yeah, sorry. Yep, that's me. I'm a political YouTuber. What do you want?
Yeah. So Queen Cleopatra was, hopefully I say this right, Ptolemaic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which was basically
Ptolemaic, I think. It's Ptolemaic, they pronounce it.
Yeah, thank you. Greek Macedonian. So when you look at like My Big Fat Greek Wedding, those characters look a lot like what Cleopatra probably looked like. And the thing is, this was the wrong way to do it. And to not derail this any further, I want to show a way to change history, but everyone be on board. Mm-hmm. Also on Netflix, I introduced to you The Woman King. Whopping 99% audience score, 94% critic score. I watched both series. I watched the docu-series, whatever you want to call it, and I watched the movie. I gotta say, Woman King is crazy entertaining. It is. It's very entertaining. Viola Davis is awesome. But all of this information, literally everything but a couple of the names, is 100% factually incorrect.
Right.
And it's so incorrect that it's basically the dichotomy of the correct history. It's the opposite. Mm-hmm. It's literally like, let's go the complete other way, other than the names of the characters, right? So, in this movie, it's about a tribe called the Dahomey tribe. Dahomey. Basically, it was the biggest tribe in Africa at the time.
I believe the way that white people pronounce it is the Honey.
That's funny. So the Dahomey tribe was actually this massive, very rich, very wealthy tribe. The way they got wealthy and rich was by selling other tribes to slavers. So they sold some people into slavery.
You're telling people the actual history.
This is the actual history,
not the movie history.
Right. There was a like section of these like powerful women warriors that would go and murder and pillage other tribes, capture people, and then sell them into slavery. The Dahomey tribe was probably responsible for a little over 25% of the slave trade. Not a great kingdom, not a good people. The king that is referenced here was not a good guy. This was a horrible tribe. Horrible. This is villainous. But the way they paint this is the Dahomey tribe actually were fighting against slavers. They painted the king as benevolent. They painted the entire town as almost modern. Nothing really made sense in this movie.
It's Wakanda is what it is.
It's basically Wakanda. But I gotta say, it's very entertaining. I enjoy it.
I will actually push back and say this is the opposite. I would say that the Cleopatra thing, being as ridiculous and absurd as it is, causes a conversation. Now, the Woman King did start a conversation as well, so you can say that, that can work also. But when you take like a tribe like this, who was very little known, like I hadn't heard about them before this movie came out.
Right. And
you lie about them in this way, and you revise history in this way, and it is a very entertaining film, according to you. I've not seen it, but then if people hadn't called it out, there would be a lot of people out there that believe this. At least with the Netflix documentary, it's so obviously BS, and they're dealing with a character from history that's so well known that most people aren't going to actually believe that Cleopatra was black, because that's the conversation is started because it's so absurd. With the Woman King, if that hadn't been called out, there would be people that believe that. Like there was this movie called what was it called? You remember that movie from the 90s where everything is in black and white? They like go into the TV. Pleasantville. Remember
Pleasantville. That? Yeah, I sort of like that concept.
Terrible revisionist history. Here's why it's terrible. It pissed me off. It's an interesting concept. It's a good idea for a movie. A fairly good story, I would say, actually. In fact, it's a very entertaining film, and a lot of people love that movie. The reason I hate that movie is because it depicts the 1950s as all a facade. Like, no one was ever happy. Anyone who was like, the good Christian who had the white picket fence and the nice family, that was all a lie, right? And everybody was like some kind of deviant sexual maniac, and everybody was just repressed. And when you allow yourself to be, some sexual freedom, and you make it more like, we live today, well, then you start to see everything in color. It brightens everything. So they had this very visual depiction of, when you become more, freer sexually, the whole world becomes in color. Well, actually, if you try to be a good person, I think that's really the message that, a film like that should be expressing. Like, if you're kind of a bad person, the world looks kind of ugly and bleak. And once you become kind of a better person, then, you see the world in color. But that wasn't as provocative an idea. So anyway, I hate that movie because I think that it has twisted people's minds about what the 1950s was. My parents grew up in the 1950s, and they absolutely loved it. And they look at it, and they look at those movies and TV shows, and they say, yeah, they candy-coated things a little bit, but those were really people's values in those days, and that's how people were. And people were very happy a lot of the time in that era. Everybody I talked to today who's old enough to remember the 50s says the 50s were my favorite decade, that I ever lived through. It was a beautiful, wonderful time. And people look back on that because of films like Pleasantville and, American Beauty and stuff like that. And they say, no. Anybody who's a conservative, anybody who believes in old-fashioned traditional values, it's all a facade. They're actually vicious, devious people, and it's all a lie. And I hate that kind of BS stuff that they do in Hollywood all the time. And so something like the Woman King can genuinely trick people into believing that's the real history. So to me, it's better if you're at least obviously lying.
Right. I guess you're right. So you're saying the Woman King... Okay, so hold up, though.
The only reason the Woman King isn't going to fool people so much is because it was exposed. Twitter kind of exposed it. The internet helps with this sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, and they said, and even Viola Davis came out and said, well, this is a fictional story using those characters.
Yeah, she definitely did a 180. First, she was like, no, this is legit. And then later she was like, okay, well, actually it's based on history.
This is about this powerful. Okay. Yeah. Well, regardless, I think that it's the way you present it then. So, like, if you are presenting a piece of art in a way that's clearly your interpretation or your whatever, your version of something, your artistic vision of something, then you're fine. No,
I don't think it is fine. Look, here's the way I look at it. All revisionist history is bad.
Well, hold on.
I understand if you make a mistake, but present history as it was. Don't lie to fit some kind of political narrative.
Have you seen the movie Battleship?
I have not.
Okay, the movie Battleship is about a bunch of aliens attacking Pearl Harbor.
Oh, I know what you're talking. This is the L. Ron Hubbard thing.
No, it's not. No. That's called Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. Battlefield Earth. Yeah. I never watched that either.
By the way, the book. You know what's funny is the book Battlefield Earth is actually a pretty good science fiction novel.
Well, L. Ron Hubbard was successful science fiction novelist before he became the leader of the
Scientology
cult.
It's funny because I read that book thinking, oh, this would make a great movie. Then I saw that they're making a movie when I was younger, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh no. Yeah, it was clearly just
I never saw it.
It was just an ad for Dianetics,
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah. Sure.
Pretty much, yeah. No, but the movie there's a movie called Battleship, and it's literally like
Mhm.
they were trying to get the name Battleship from like the game when you were kids and make a
Mhm.
show about these aliens.
When was
attacking,
this film made?
like 10 years ago. Doesn't
Okay.
matter. The point of this is that didn't actually happen, right? It's based on characters in the Navy, but aliens didn't.
Well, they
attack
say,
Pearl
okay, hold
Harbor.
on. You're talking about a fiction that's set in a particular historical period.
Right. So why can't
That's different. That's
and I'm
different
asking,
than historical revisionism.
why can't there be fiction based on the Dahomey tribe? I'm playing devil's
Oh,
advocate.
you
here.
can, but it wasn't presented that way.
Well, no, I mean it's a fictional movie. And that's why I say that Queen Cleopatra is worse because it was presented as a doc, not as a fictional.
I
Hollywood
would
movie.
say this. I would say this. If you're going to make a fictional film about the Dahomey tribe, or as I call it, the Honey tribe, just make up a fake tribe.
Right. Yeah, you should have just.
Why
done
are
that.
you using a real tribe and then completely revising their history because they were basically these sinister, evil pieces of garbage, and then you're going, oh no, they were this beautiful, wonderful Wakanda-like utopia.
The problem
Why
is
would you do that? It's propaganda.
they wanted Viola Davis to play the leader of the woman in the Amazonians, which, to be fair, that actually existed, but it's unfortunately that character and her group of women warriors also existed in the kingdom of Dahomey, which was an evil, villainous group of people.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, Battleship is based on the board game. You're right, but they used actual like Navy correct like names and ships and everything. Like there's a lot of reality to that movie other than
I don't
aliens
mind.
attacking.
So sometimes they do this thing where they're like, and I used to like this when I was younger, but I think it's gotten out of control, where they take real life stuff.
Right.
And they inject it into an obvious fiction, and they say, okay, so this fictional stuff happened, and this is why this happened in history. And so if it's a very obviously a fiction, you can kind of go like, all right, nobody's going to actually believe this because this is, Highlander or something, I mean, this is like obviously fiction. But when they interject historical realities and fiction, and they don't necessarily, they sort of present the film as if it's a historically accurate depiction. That's when people start getting confused. And
that's
you
my
gotta
problem
use your
with-
best judgment. But I think it's a sinister thing to do as a filmmaker.
And that's my problem with Cleopatra. I believe Cleopatra is more offensive when it comes to revisionist history than Women King because it's painted as a historical doc, not as a fictional blockbuster
I think both
movie.
are extremely sinister. Both are trying to convince people that history is Y when it's actually X. There is this view that perception is reality. So like there is no truth. Right. There's only your truth. This is a sort of like what do they call critical theory idea of the world.
That's the shadow theory. Like from what direction you're looking at said truth, it becomes the truth.
Is that Aristotle?
The reflection of the truth is truth because you can't.
Or Plato. I think Plato came up with that.
You can't see the truth from the angle that you're looking at.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. Like right. I get what you're saying. Like my truth. Well, that's not right. That's garbage.
But there is real truth. There is actual objective truth.
But then
and when
again,
you start to say there is no objective truth,
war
there's
writes
only
the history books, right? So like, we know we're all accepting this as history here, right? But then, who won that war though? Who wrote it down?
I actually hate that theory because yes, there is some kind of tainted view often when the winner tries to present everything as they're awesome and the other side was evil. That does happen,
right?
But in the 1960s, we started to say, no, we got to be careful about saying that because we won our battle against, the Native Americans in America, that we're the good guys. Actually, there's a lot of stuff that we did that was bad. Instead of trying to find balance, what they did is they just flipped it. And they said the winners are always evil, essentially. Right. Like any kind of colonist is evil. White Europeans were all evil. Anybody who fought against the Indians were evil. And the Indians were these like noble savages. They were so good. They were so peaceful. They loved the earth and blah, blah, blah. They used every part of the buffalo. Let me tell you about using every part of the buffalo. They did not use every part of the buffalo. They had a use for every part of the buffalo. They had these thing called buffalo jumps, where they would encourage whole herds of buffalo to jump off of a cliff, killing them all. And then they would use like 3 or 4 of them, and the rest would just rot and die. And so there was a lot of waste with the Native Americans.
But do you remember
this idea
Dance,
that, they were environmentalists.
Remember Dance with Wolves made it look like that was the evil white guys that did that.
Exactly. That's exactly how they do history now, right? So it's kind of flipped on its head. No longer is it, the victors write the history. Now it's the victors paint themselves as evil. We've got all these leftists now who are trying to revise history and make white people look evil. Well, find some balance. Some white people are good. Some white people are evil. Some Native Americans were good. Some Native Americans were evil. Black people, some are good. Some are there's good and bad in every group. Explain it honestly and accurately. None of this revisionist BS. To me, this is all terrible.
Dance with Wolves is actually a perfect example of that. You have...
Yeah, I think that film did a lot of harm. I think the film that did the most harm, as I mentioned before, was Roots. But Dances with Wolves was definitely a harmful film for society.
It was a great movie, though.
Yeah, a good movie. Yep, that's the problem. It's too good. It's too good of a movie.
Michael Nemo, Queen Cleopatra is killing on planet documentary. Oh, my God, you're making fun of my speech. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for that $2. I appreciate that.
That's my fault.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap this up. But it's interesting that people will accept something if it's highly entertaining. And having now watched both, completely taking out the revisionist history or the casting or the Egyptian lawsuit or whatever, just on their face, Woman King is wildly entertaining. And Queen Cleopatra is so boring.
Can you just tell me real quick? I do not like Viola Davis. I've never seen a role that I like her in. I think she's a terribly uncharismatic person. And every role she's in, she's just sort of like, I'm in charge and you're going to listen to me. And I really can't stand her. What do you think of her as... Because you're saying this film's good. It's a film starring her, so I imagine she must be good in this film.
So I don't think she always plays that character. In fact, I was introduced to the character in the movie Help, or The Help, or whatever.
Right, she was different in Help, of course. Yeah, that's how she kind of like blew up. She blew up from the movie Help. Yeah. Yeah,
and I liked her a lot in that movie. I thought she was great, actually. I also she's like one of the few characters in the DC universe that is like consistent throughout every incarnation of that universe.
Yeah, true, and consistently annoying.
I don't agree. I think she plays Amanda Waller perfectly. I think
Amanda Waller is the character that I see her in the most, like in terms of like that personality type. She tends to be cast that way in almost everything I see now, and I just find it like, I don't know. I'm the boss. You're going to listen to me. That seems like every line she says has that what they call subtext, and I just find it like redundant and annoying.
Well, she's played the victim in plenty of movies. I think now her stint now is where she's in charge, and that's okay. She did like 10 years where she was certainly not the one in charge. So I think she's a good actor for this reason. She's able to express emotion with very little facial movement, I've noticed. It's like a lot of actors use all the muscles in their face to express themselves. And she's like, no. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. So she's able to do that with just her voice. So I think that's what makes her special.
I love how you're like, the reason she's a good actress is because she doesn't express any emotion whatsoever.
I mean, she just does
it's got a dead face.
It's her tone.
And you just can read into it whatever you want. Yeah. That's an old trick, actually. That's an old trick in acting.
Keanu Reeves did the same thing for years, so.
It's an old trick in acting, actually. If you express no emotion and the editor cuts... Hitchcock has a great thing on this if you want to look at it on YouTube. You watch Hitchcock and editing. Hitchcock talks about how if you have this guy looking like this, right, and it's a beautiful woman, like in a bikini, you think, oh, he's leering at this woman. But if it's like a little girl on a swing set or something like that, which is a bad example these days because we're always talking about like sickos and stuff. But you know what I mean? If it's like a cute, innocent scene, you think, oh, it's a nice guy, just like, being nice. And so, cutting from one thing to the other will imply what's in the person's head. So actually not expressing yourself is actually an old acting trick, and it works very well. And so in that sense, yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. But I don't think that means she's a good actress. I think she just figured out that trick. I don't know. I find her unpleasant to watch on screen.
I get that. I'm gonna say what I say about the same thing I say about Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say if he is a good actor or not. I'm not gonna say Viola Davis is a good actor or not. I'm just gonna say this: I am entertained by the majority of their work.
That's fair.
And so that's good enough for me. Michael Nemo, Viola on Hot Ones, So Down to Earth. So my view might be tainted a little bit because I did see her on Hot Ones.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, Hot Ones is a YouTube show, man. You ever see that?
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's actually great. I'll show you guys.
I should probably see it.
Yeah. Basically.
Oh, I know what this is. Yeah, of course I know what this is.
Yeah, of course.
I just don't know what it's called. But of course it pops up on my YouTube all the time.
Yeah. So this guy has like famous people on, and he makes them eat spicier and spicier wings
and he interviews them. Yeah,
which is really great. Especially seeing like these big muscle bound like action film guys on like level 2 and they're crying. You can see tears streaming down their face. It's awesome.
I will say this, even though I don't care about looking stupid, and I do it all the time on my show, I don't think I would do that. I don't really want snot coming out and everything while I'm on being recorded.
I would do it in a heartbeat just to show how far I can get because
I don't like spicy. I feel like there's a level of spiciness that you get where you can't taste anything else. And I don't understand what the point of that is.
So you're completely right, but the right level of capsaicin actually enhances the flavor, right?
Yeah, a low level. When you get past medium into like too hot, then it's like, okay, now everything just tastes spicy.
But
like I don't understand
your
the point
taste buds get more and more used to it as you eat it. So
I feel like when you're a kid, when I was a kid, we used to challenge each other, right? Like who can eat the most sour candy, who can eat the spiciest salsa and stuff like that. And you do develop a tolerance. That is true. But it's such an infantile thing. Like, oh, I'm more tough than you. I can eat spicier food. There comes a point, I think, when you mature and you become confident in yourself that you say, you know what? I'll take the mild. I'm okay with that.
No, it's okay with being a mild sauce guy. No big deal. But my side hustle here.
That was the most patronizing thing anyone's ever said to me.
You can be a mild sauce guy.
It's okay if you have a pussy, Chris. That's fine.
When you go to Taco Bell,
it's all right that you have a vagina.
When you ask for if there's something more mild than mild sauce, that's okay. At what point is a salsa just tomato sauce and no longer a salsa? That's the question.
That's a good point. No,
here's the deal. My sort of side hustle here is I actually make hot sauce.
Okay.
I've had this little business called Christine's Cocina. My wife's name is Christine. I've co-opted her image and her name, and she has almost nothing to do with it now. But
a lot of people do like spicy, and if you like spicy, buy Brian's.
She's an attractive Hispanic woman, so I've co-opted her information, and I've been doing it for years. So every single day I'm eating spice. I put it in all my food.
You actually are independently wealthy.
No. I don't make enough money. But the thing is, though, I have built up such a tolerance now to heat.
Sure.
That it takes me like 5 of those chili packets on a piece of pizza for me to feel it. So if I went on Hot Ones, I would drink that guy under the table. That's all I'm saying.
You should definitely be on there. We got to get you famous enough that they'll have you on.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are going to be going to the members section here. Please do me a favor. First off, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for the super chats, everyone here. Do me a favor and check out, I'm not sure if Shane's doing it tomorrow, but if he is, come back tomorrow and check out Shane's show, The Palantar. If he does do it, that's great. And then we'll be back on Monday with Tom Constantino from the Orville. He says he has news. He will not elaborate on what that news is.
Oh, that's cool, man.
So I don't know, but he'll be on the show at 2 o'clock on Monday, Tom Constantino. And, of course, the regular...
I will watch that. I will actually watch that.
Tom Gonzino is a great guy. And all the regular people that's normally on that panel. So we're going to the member section. Thank you very much.
Hold on. You got to tell everybody to watch my. Everybody subscribe to Mr. Reagan.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Wait.
You'll go to hell if you don't.
Before I do that,
Okay.
Remember the link is in the description for Prime. It's going to handshake you, but also there's a join button for member section. And before we leave all you guys, check out Mr. Reagan's
and Alpha Critic as well.
Alpha Critic channel. It's pretty good. He also has a Mr. Pagan channel that's really hilarious, but I'm not sure if you guys want to watch that. The Alpha Critic channel is pretty good. Go check it out. I've been watching Mr. Reagan for a long time. I've liked his videos for a very long time. And I believe that there was a short period of time where I completely never got served anything that he put out. I think he just got throttled to death because of his outlandish titles. Some of his titles are insane. Like, I know you're trying to get clicks, but at some point you go so overboard that YouTube's like, yeah, no one's going to see this.
I just made a video called "Is the World Controlled by Secret Sex Cults?"
Oh God.
It's an excellent video. It's an excellent video.
It's an excellent video, but this is what I'm talking about, bro. Okay? YouTube looks at your video title and it's like, yeah,
you got to get those clicks, bro. Here's the interesting thing. Clickbait, typically, people are disappointed in what they get. I guarantee none of the clickbait titles that I have are disappointing. Actually, you'll probably think the video is actually better than the title suggests. But I am provocative.
That's fair. Go check them out. Okay, we're out of here.